Oh, we're ready for him now. Let's do it. Former HB Tour veteran. We've had him on before. Longtime coach, tour, college, men's, women's, and now, of course, coaching Ben. So let's bring in Bryan Shelton to the show once again. Bryan, it's good to see you again. I know you know everyone here. You got Tracy, Jimmy, Nick. How's Miami so far?
Yeah, loving Miami.
All right.
You know, it's always good to be in the state of Florida. We've been in Florida since 2012. So whenever we have a chance to play here, you got to love it.
It's so good having Bryan here. You know, we see each other. You saw each other in December in Orlando, and Ben moved to Orlando to start training there. But let's talk a little bit about what's happening here in Miami. You guys got 2 practices today. I believe he plays Saturday. So what did the day look like for you and Ben today?
Yeah, well, we came out this morning, got the body loose because he had an event last night with one of his sponsors, which ran late. So, you know, trying to get him on time this morning was a little bit of a chore, but we made it. And got loosened up and had a 90-minute hit. Played almost a set and a half with Grigor Dimitrov. So you got to love that. You know, you start your day with G. I mean, he's one of the fan favorites, but he's also one of the player favorites out here. So he had 2 great practices today. One with Grigor, and then we came back this afternoon after lunch and had another hit with Arthur Fees, who's one of Ben's best friends on tour. So a really good day.
Always good to be with friends. I think one thing we've been talking a lot about is the court speed, kind of how fast the court's been playing. They've been saying this Grand Slam's playing like a 40, Indian Wells about 31. What's Ben been feeling with the court? Has it been playing faster in his mind?
Yeah, the ball's definitely moving through the court. Like you hit a slice here and it actually skids and moves through the court, especially if you hit a quality one, whereas in Indian Wells, Acapulco was a joke. It was so slow. But those surfaces, you know, it moves fast through the air at Indian Wells, but then it checked up, you know, and the ball would sit up a lot more. So here, still getting some bounce, but you definitely get a little bit more of the speed through the court. And he's hit with some guys who have been hitting through the court pretty well, so it feels quick.
Arthur Fees will hit through the court.
Bryan, I'm curious about how you find the balance as a dad and a coach, because there's got to be those times of the day where you're the coach and then you're the dad. It can't be just random all of a sudden, oh, yeah, and at breakfast, you got to work on your backhand. Oh, you got to hit that, you know, that slice there, because then it's coming at you all the time if you're Ben. So how do you find parts of the day for each?
You know, I think that we're pretty good at that. You know, we get in the car in the morning and drive over to the site, and here it's a little bit of a drive, and we don't talk anything about tennis. And the tennis talk really starts like maybe 45 minutes before we take the practice court. We kind of go through the keys for the day and things that we want to make sure that we accomplish in the practice. And then maybe 10 or 15 minutes after practice, we might hit a couple things. And then over lunch and stuff like that, we're just anything but tennis, you know? And so I think, you know, as a coach and as a father as well, you know, you just, especially with a 22-year-old now, he's not a little boy anymore. You got to pick your moments. And I think that we've done a pretty good job of knowing when to just, and I know when he's receptive. Like he gives me a cue and I know, okay, talk to me, Dad. And he gives me this other cue, like, I don't want to hear a single thing you have to say right now, so don't even try it. Don't even try me. You know,
don't even think about it.
I know that look, and so, you know, I don't try it. He's bigger than I am now.
You know what, Bryan? I want Tennis Channel to clip that segment right there for all the tennis parents that are out there that don't maybe listen as well, because I think, Bryan, growing up, we've all seen that parent that it's constant chirp, constant chirp, constant chirp, and it kind of wears away at that relationship. So it sounds like great job, Dad. You're doing a good job finding that balance.
Well, another part of being a good tennis parent and coach, Bryan, is it looks to me like you didn't put the emphasis on the young age groups. He continues to improve every single year. So did you start him? You weren't getting on him if he wasn't winning in the 12 and unders. How did you get him to the spot where he is now in tennis?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good, I mean, I've been in coaching for a long time prior to my kids starting the game. And so what I saw, like you guys see with the tennis parents out there and dealing with kids that are coming into college that have gone through the system, I saw the same things, you know, and I promised myself and I promised my kids that we're not going to chase points. We're not going to go all over the world to play tournaments. We're going to play in our own backyard. We're going to figure out how to win, you know, locally first, and then we'll kind of branch out a little bit. We branched out to like South Florida, you know, and that was about it, you know. And so it's like, you're going to have a normal childhood, you know, and rankings, those don't matter. We don't care about rankings. Let's just think about how you can continue to get better. So they'd win a tournament, you know, a local tournament, and we try to figure out what they could have done better. And they go lose, and we do the same thing. So it didn't change whether they won or they lost. It was like, what did you do well, and what could you do better? Those are the two questions always.
Nick Kyrgios now a point away from taking the second set. Last time you were on, Bryan, we were diving in deep to Ben's serve, and we were talking about the pitcher-batter mentality and wanting to mix it up with the spins. There goes the set for Kyrgios. We're going to a third. Last year, he made 69% of his first serves in. That was third best on tour among the top 50. It's like Zverev. It's unbelievable because the serve is so big. This year, it's super early, but he's making 64% of his first serves. I'm curious if there's been any change in mindset with the first serve or any new approach when you hear those numbers.
You know, I think the goal is so that he's serving efficiently and getting through his service games efficiently. You know, that's the goal. So what we looked at is just his accuracy with the serve. You know, 69%, that's a good number, but what percentage of those points are you actually winning? And we felt like we need to be more accurate with his serve, and so we want to hit it closer to the lines. Everybody else wants him to hit it bigger all the time. Like, just hit the 150. You got 150 in your pocket, just hit it 150. These guys, I swear, if you hit it 150, like he hit a few, I forget which match it was, he lost every point, you know, last week in Indian Wells. So it's not a guarantee that if he makes the 150 serve that he wins the point or the ball doesn't come back. These guys are good. But if you hit your spot at 125, it doesn't come back. And so where is he more accurate as far as speed, and how can we get the ball closer to the line, even if we give up a few percentage points with serves in?
And Bryan, you know, I've been able to be there in Orlando, watch some of your practices. What's kind of your coaching philosophy with Ben? I feel like, you know, I've seen a lot of all-court tennis, but how much do you focus on transition game, baseline, net? Is there a percentage that you try to focus on throughout practice, or is it just kind of we're going to be an all-court player? So how are you working on that with Ben?
Well, everything's kind of setting up to finish, you know, and we always kind of talk about the finishing shots. Where do you want to finish with your forehand? Where do you want to finish at the net? How are you going to finish? So we work on that piece of the puzzle, you know, early in the practices. And then when we work on serve, we work on return, we work on some of the other areas of his game, they're leading to get to those finishing situations. Yeah. And so, you know, ultimately we want him to be a complete player. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, he's physical. He's 6'4". He's super athletic. He's not well balanced yet in his movement and how he recovers, and he's not mature as far as his anticipation yet. Like you see guys when they make a return off of a first serve, they know how to anticipate for the first ball, and they're on balance hitting that first ball after the serve or after the return. And Ben's still trying to get every ball, and it's like sometimes you got to hedge your bet, son.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You're an athlete, but you sometimes have to anticipate. And so, getting those nuances down and working on those areas as well. But I'd say a bulk of our practice is about trying to get him to play more vertically and less horizontally, even though his ground strokes are evolving and getting better.
Yeah, that's what I've seen in your practice. You know, even when you guys are hitting cross-court shots, let's say I saw you guys play a cross-court game to 7, but looking to get in, trying to take that first ball to come in. So it's almost like a doubles drill you guys were doing cross-court, but it was focusing on coming in. And you guys have so much fun on the court together in practice, outside of practice. What's the most rewarding part of coaching your son?
You know, I think the best thing that I hear, and I heard it this morning when we were practicing, is when he starts asking me questions or he just engages. That's what I love about working with him. He engages into the practice. He engages in what's going on with his game and in every area. I mean, it's even off-court stuff. He doesn't want things done for him. He wants to understand them. He wants to be part of the process. And when you know, we've coached, you know, and you coach players, and some players it's like, whoa, this is going to be a tough hour. I got to go on the court with this one. And with him, it's like most of the time it's like
it's fun.
It's
you know
fun and entertaining, and you know, he's going to do some stupid things and some crazy things, but that's part of who he is.
Bryan, did you do anything from a mental side of the game for Ben? Because one of the things I love about Ben is he can be in a situation for the first time, and you can still see that he believes, you know, semifinals of the U.S. Open, first time. He's playing one of the all-time greats. he doesn't look intimidated ever. He doesn't look as though he doesn't think he should be there. He's got that sort of innate confidence. Yeah. Did you help him get that, or is that just something he was born with?
I think a lot of it he was born with, Jimmy. You know, we've always said it from early on when he was like 1 year old that this kid is different. You know? And some of it was really good and some of it maybe not, but he's just so different from us. I'm an introvert, my wife's an introvert, my daughter's an introvert, and then we have this kid that is just full, wants to be in the center of the mix of everything. And he's not scared of situations, and it's just like, how did he get that? You know, so I don't think that's anything. I wish you
really
could have
let me know how you did it if it happened.
Sorry,
I guess you didn't have the answer.
Sorry, I'm not that good.
All right.
Bryan, I'm curious about how you've managed everything off the court. How, I guess you, your team, and Ben, of course, because he's the center of it. But once the success starts to come, the demands, they come so quickly. The endorsements, which is a great thing, but it's also the demands on your time. It's demands for media. Everybody wants to know about you. You lose a little bit of privacy. How have you managed that? I know Tiger Woods, I believe that I'm correct, had certain days a year where he tried to shoot everything, shoot all of his commercials and such. So how do you work with the demands on Ben's time?
That's a great question, Tracy, and it's one of the most difficult parts of being in Ben's shoes or, nearing the top of the game is that there's so many things that happen off the court, you know, and like last night, for instance, a great event with one of his sponsors on, and they did a phenomenal job doing this thing, but it's taxing, you know, because you're constantly having to be on, no pun intended. And, so I think with those things, it's just really trying to protect him and being able to say no at the right times to certain things and be okay with that, but do it respectfully. Yeah. And then when you say yes, you gotta be all in, and do it with a good attitude. And there's so many greats that we showed Ben, the Arnold Palmers and the guys that do things graciously and really set a good example for the rest of the people that came after them. And so we have the same thing in tennis, with Fed and Nadal and these guys that do it so well, have done it so well for so many years. So,
yeah, it's like little paper cuts. It's like little energy here, little energy there. I remember I was like 17 and had a lot of endorsements coming my way, and this one soft drink company is like, just 1 day and 3 hours. I'm like, yours, all yours. The others wanted like 2 days, 3 days. And a lot goes into those decisions because you only have so much energy to give.
That's exactly right. Every time you say yes, you're giving up something.
Yep.
So Ben's pretty good. He doesn't take every deal that comes in front of him. He said no a lot, and I've been really, really impressed that he understands and values one of the most important commodities that we have, which is time.
With Ben, I mean, look, it hasn't happened a lot where he's maybe lost in the first round or lost early in a tournament, but as tennis players, we know how difficult that is to lose on a Monday, have the whole week to get ready for the next tournament. But he always has such a healthy mindset, it seems like. He's always happy and excited to be whatever tournament, whatever practice. How do you instill that in him, and how do you help him through to have that healthy mindset week in and week out, playing, so many weeks and taking some lumps here and there? Yeah,
I think that's part of, again, who he is. I think that I don't see many guys get as upset as he gets after a loss. I have to wait, sometimes hours or days before I can talk to him after a loss. But after that day or whatever, he is so focused and ready to get back on the court and try to fix things and get things right to have a better week the next week or just to improve in an area that let him down. Yeah. He's just got this hunger. We always say, stay humble and be hungry, and he's got this hunger that he just wants to be at the top.
And is there somebody that he looks up to that kind of, whether it's another sport, another athlete, that kind of he can watch and instill that hunger within him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a sports junkie, so, he looks at all the greats. Basketball seems to be the sport he seems to gravitate to the most as far as icons and guys that talk the talk and walk the walk, and he loves listening to Anthony Edwards and some of these guys that are just fierce competitors, and and really want to be in that moment, and they want to have the ball in their hands, and they want to make the next play, and they bounce back after things. And I think he's definitely one of those guys that bounces back pretty well and comes back ready to go better the next week.
We had a question last time we were on Second Serve.
Oh, my God.
Jeff Chisover, he played football in high school, and he was all-state. You know, I think he's got a pretty good arm, and we were watching Ben throw it at Indian Wells, and I was like, man, this guy's got a cannon.
I heard about this. He threw it 60 or 70 yards?
Yeah, he was supposed to go out and throw against Ben. He got a little scared.
Yeah.
But how far do you think Ben can throw a football?
60, 70 yards.
60, 70 yards.
How about
yeah.
you, Chiz?
I've seen it.
I think I can be low 60s, but I'm a washed athlete. I know that when Ben said he thought it was only 50, I felt good, but if it's 60, 70, I don't feel good. I got baited into it, Brian. I got completely baited into it.
We needed to see Chiz and Ben out there. Ben was ready, but you just didn't show up.
I want to see you guys side by side. Let's make it happen.
I saw
We
Ben
all
yesterday.
do.
He said I was there, and Chiz didn't show up. So
We really do.
We were going to make it
Put up or
happen, but
shut
all of a
up.
sudden Chiz had golf at that time.
232.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, these on at Masters 1000, I'm not going to bust into there. I'm going to feel like an idiot.
he said he was ready.
I feel like I got baited into this next question because no one else asked it, but now with social media these days, Ben posted recently, it looks like he's in an item with Trinity Rodman, a soccer star on the world-famous U.S. women's national team, 3 goals at the Paris Olympics. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but I guess, I guess like...
I don't either, but you're probably talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah, I guess so. I was just going to say, have there been any soccer shootouts or a tennis hit between them? Obviously, we got 2 good athletes here in item. I don't know.
I think it's all new, and it's new to me too.
Copy.
It was new to you
It's 22-year-old.
there it is right there. And
Yes.
Coco's response to this was, that's the hard launch.
Yes, I don't even... Jimmy, do you know what hard launch means?
I know nothing
I
about
think that-
anything that's happening right now.
That means
Just let's get back to tennis, can we?
they're posting that we're an item.
Right. It's social media these days,
right.
yes.
Yeah. I don't
Look
get
at
into
Brian.
that
He's
stuff.
like, get me out of this question. Next question,
But-
please.
We'll go back to tennis because we're going to have a stringer here come in the booth later on in the show. What tension has Ben stringing his rackets at? Because we see him pump the serve really hard. So is he lower, higher? What is he
He's
stringing
on the
it at?
higher end, I would say. You know, back in the day, in our days, it was like no big deal to string the rackets at 68, 70 pounds. You know, now, I mean, everyone's in the 40s or low 50s, and Ben is, I'd say, on the high end. He's typically around 56 to 58 pounds, somewhere in there. And so, yeah, he's
All
playing with
poly?
a powerful stick. Yeah, it's poly, and one's a softer, one's a little bit stiffer in the cross and the mains, but he kind of balances out the powerful stick with a little bit of a tighter string pattern.
Brian,
and tighter strings.
I'm a little curious because these courts are supposedly pretty fast. I think you confirm
I
that.
agree.
Is that something? There's certain big servers over time that didn't necessarily like a fast court because they needed. John Isner comes to mind. He didn't want the court too fast. He wanted enough time to be able to hit his ground strokes. And his serve was so good, he's holding serve on whatever surface.
Yeah.
Is this a good condition for Ben, these fast courts? Does he want faster? And also, you might not want to answer this, but I'm looking at his section of the draw. Hurkacz, Shapovalov, Taylor Fritz, the seeds, they all seem to like fast courts. He's in a section that's fast courts is fairly rough.
Yeah. You know, I just say good. You know, whatever happens, you know, it's like that Jocko. I mean, it's like you're going to have to play him, you know, at some point, you know, on different surfaces and different conditions. And Ben's 22.
Yeah.
Bring them on, you know, one after another if they come, you know,
if
you
they
continue
come,
to
that's
win.
the key. You don't even know if they're going to get there.
Yep.
You
Play the
never
guy in
know.
front of you.
You never know. That's why I don't look past the next guy, you know? And it's like, otherwise you have stress and you're just always kind of thinking, oh, if he does this and if he does this and they do this, it's like, you know what, just worry about what's right in front of you. And the court surface, Jimmy, you know, I think Ben prefers any court that bounces high, you know, more so than the speed. If he gets the bounce because he can get it with his kick and with his forehand, he feels like he can dominate out there because he can get the ball out of the zone probably more than anyone else can with the serve. And so that for him is like, whew. He goes to Cincinnati, he goes to U.S. Open, he goes even on the clay, certain places like Madrid, I think he'll do great. You know, just the ball's bouncing so high. He loves that.
Was there something that you learned or maybe that you regretted in your career that you wish you would have done that now you're instilling within Ben with his career?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty, looking back, hindsight's 20/20. But, I just wish I would have had a little bit more of a confident mentality. Ben wants to play fewer events. And I was like, why do you want to play fewer events? He's like, because I want to be home and I want to be more balanced. And I was like, I want to go play. I need to go play to get more points. I was concerned with those things more. And looking back, and that's why I changed with my kids, is like I was chasing the wrong things. And Ben has a belief in himself. He's like, I don't need that many events. I can make my points in fewer events. And he's not worried about trying to get it.
I mean, that's the truth. He's making a lot in those, and therefore he can have a big team, which is also so helpful. I mean, you got to 55, which is amazing. But back then, when you played with Todd Witzkin, I knew Todd extremely well. But that you weren't making as much money, so you didn't have that team, right? So you had to try to play more events to try to get the money.
Sure. Yeah, things are definitely different for him, and I mean, he has a belief in himself, and I just wish I had that same belief when I was playing. That's for sure. Yeah.
Just to follow up, the Todd Witzkin, just people that remember that name, he played at USC, he was from Indiana, and that's how you actually met your beautiful wife, was, I believe, because your wife is Todd's sister, right?
Correct. Yeah, we met in Australia at the Australian Open for the first time, and it's just, God, I miss Todd. What a great player, what a great person.
Great human being.
But, a lot of good things came from him getting actually sick, and then me meeting his sister and spending time with those guys, and Ben and his sister Emma wouldn't be here otherwise. So, yeah, the Witzkins are a big part of Ben's, his process and how he got here today. And, a lot of people always talk about the Sheltons and this and that, but the Witzkin-Shelton combination has been a great one. It's been a great one.
This has been a great combo, too. I mean, Mackie McDonald, he trains in Orlando.
Yeah.
I know Ben was doing all of his preseason training with Richard Langford, and that was also with Ben and Mackie. Kind of how was that practice with Mackie over the preseason, and what do you see in this matchup? It's 2-all in the third.
Yeah.
What does Mackie bring to the table here?
Yeah, I mean, Mackie's, ultimate speed demon. I mean, this guy, he moves so well around the court, and so he can give you trouble because he's also a good ball striker, returns extremely well, takes the ball pretty early, plays pretty flat, so it doesn't, I think this surface would be great for him. A little bit quicker. It's like he's back in Cali already, and some of the courts back there. But just a great human being, too. So a lot of fun to be around. And I think when you're training and practicing, it's good to have good players, but even better to just be around good people. And Mackie's one of those, just like you, Nick. I mean, just good people that you want to be around, want to be on the court with.
Yeah, thanks. And what do you think about Nick Kyrgios? How good is it to see him coming back? And looks like he's playing pretty well here, 2-all in the third.
I mean, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. I know he hasn't maybe had any wins yet this year, but I was talking with Matt Clore earlier today, who works with the USTA, and he's now part of the analytics team. And he's just looking at video of this guy this year. He's like, guy's playing well. He may have gotten a little bit nervous, in some parts against Van de Zandschulp, but he's still playing really, really well. So tough opponent.
Yeah, on serve here at third. It seems to be a trend with the young Americans, especially with the guy sitting next to you. He goes to Chipotle like 5 times a week. Is Ben part of the Chipotle train?
You know it.
Is that part of Ben's routine too? Okay, it is. Yeah.
If you play college tennis, all about Chipotle, right, Jimmy?
Right.
No question. That's where the kids always want to go.
Pretty healthy.
Olive Garden, Buca de Beppo.
Although
I'm going to have to bring it in the studio here one of these days.
It's inside the budget of the college teams.
Although it's got a lot more expensive.
Yeah, but it's still in the budget.
Still in the budget.
We got the Bolays, too.
Oh, the Bolays, too.
Yeah, Ben was mad he didn't get the Chipotle deal.
I know.
He really
what
wanted
happened
that,
there? We got to get Ben on it.
Fritz got that one.
When you were part of the team, did they do individual per diem to each player, or was it one big pot, and if you go under the per diem, you get money back? Do you remember in your college coaching days?
We did not give any money back.
We're going to get Brian's thoughts.
I want Brian's thoughts.
Yeah, well, I wanted to warm up and then ask Brian about the per diem in Florida.
Per diem, I didn't do the per diem.
Okay.
I got out of that early on because kids would just want to save money and they wouldn't eat.
Yes.
And I was like, no, we got to fuel, we got to eat properly. So I started just paying the bill, and then they could get what they wanted within reason. And you know, it worked a little bit better that way.
They're
But
gonna
when
be
I was in
healthy
college,
athletes.
we got $13 a day.
Yeah.
13.
Oh,
$13 a
Hot
day,
dogs
and
are
I
a
would come
quarter,
home
like
with
my
like
dad
$3
says.
or $4 a day after that.
Or was that Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that's right.
But I know
That's
we've
right.
done this probably 10 times on Tennis Channel, but it never gets old to go back to that moment where your team won, where Ben won as well. I want to see if Michael Haston has that and if he can pull it up, because that's so special for Ben to win the NCAAs. I think the year before he won it, he was playing like number 5 on the team, and then he goes the
Correct.
next year and boom, just explodes.
Yeah, it was kind of fairy tale, right? I mean, especially the year before. I mean, winning the individual's great, but you know, you guys know nothing compares to doing something with a team. And for him to come on that team his freshman year, and then for us to have the ultimate prize of winning in the state of Florida. We played in Orlando at the courts there and at Lake Nona, and just really, really special. And for my kid to be there and have that embrace at the end of the match, and just
Everybody
be with
rushes
the guys.
court. I love that part about college
It's the
tennis.
best. It's the best.
yeah.
Can't beat it.
I think there's people at home too. We know college is the viable option now, but some people think, oh, you only have a chance if you're playing one on your team. Everyone remember that, you know, Ben was at the bottom of the lineup and anyone can make it, and now the level is just ridiculous.
And the thing was, people always say, you know, are you sure you weren't sandbagging, like putting him at 5? Like, he really wasn't number 5. He was legitimately the 5th best player on that team, because our guy at 4 was undefeated, our guy at 6 was undefeated, and Ben was just trying to hold on to his spot, you know,
I mean,
the whole
Bryan,
year.
Who was 1, 2, 3, and 4? I'm just curious. So was it Sam Riffis?
You remember Sam Riffis?
Yes.
I mean, that guy was number 1 or 2 in the country. The
Yep.
other guy, Duarte Valle, who's actually traveling with us now, he was playing 1 and 2 as well, and he was top 5 in the nation. And then at number 3, Andy Andrade, who's playing on the circuit right now. He's like mid 200s right now. He was better than Ben, and then Blaise Bicknell was playing 4, and he was undefeated. How could I move Ben up? He was losing matches.
Yeah.
What was
Right,
great
Jimmy?
for me, well, what was great for me, Bryan, is I saw one of the matches along the way to that winning championship team, and they show, when you watch college tennis on TV, they just show little parts of matches. They don't actually stick to one match. And when they went to Bryan, when they went to Ben, that one section of the match, I remember him hitting a forehand, and it went to the 3rd row in the stands. And I was thinking to myself, Bryan, man, you shouldn't. You're playing for a national champion. You shouldn't put your kid at number 5 just because he's your kid. You know, so at that point, that's what I was thinking, and obviously how wrong I was.
Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, Bryan, before we let you go, he's playing on Saturday.
Yeah.
What does the schedule look like the next couple of days to get ready?
Yeah, we'll have a light day tomorrow because we had a pretty heavy day today and after a long day yesterday. But he'll have one practice tomorrow, go 90 minutes. He'll do it with Duarte. So we'll work on some specific things and, you know, get him feeling really good. And he'll hit the gym for 45 minutes and call it a day, you know, and relax. And then on Friday, we'll get somebody out here and we'll play a set, just one set of singles, make sure everything's good, and be ready to fire up on Saturday.
Last question, Michael Haston, is how many players have hitting partners now? Because obviously Duarte Valle is coming as a hitting partner now. Is that common? Because that is on the women's side, but what about the men's?
On the men, not so much.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's more than just a hitting partner. I think Duarte brings, Ben's calling him his mental coach now, too.
Oh,
you know?
great.
And this guy was captain of our team. He's been out on the tour, on the circuit for the last couple of years, and he brings a lot. And his guy
I didn't mean to belittle it, but I mean, it's hard for those guys to get somebody that can hit Ben's ball, right?
Yeah, and commit,
Right.
yeah.
Right. No, this guy can hit it really well, and he pushes Ben. Sometimes he's beating Ben. I'm like, just tone it down a little bit, Duarte. Come on.
Keep the confidence up. We got to keep the confidence up. Keep the buddies together.
He's great, and those guys can hang out together and off the court, and that's also a big plus.
Huge.
Bryan, we have so much fun on the show, but it's a big thanks to you to take the time and come kick with us and give us all the insight. So much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks, Bryan.
enjoy
Good
what
luck.
you guys do. Thank you.
Bryan, you're the man.
See you, Bryan.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Thanks, buddy.
you got it.
Thanks, buddy.